Now, the Supreme Court has gotten more and more corporate over the years. In fact, there's a famous memo written, the Powell memo, by Lewis Powell back in the early 1970s. And he wrote it to the Chamber of Commerce saying, hey, you know what? The Chamber and pro-business groups, pro-corporate groups, should do more to take over the different parts of society, including universities, the government, and the Supreme Court. Nixon thought that was such a brilliant idea. He took that young lawyer who wrote that memo, depends on your definition of young, and said, all right, Mr. Powell, you know what? I'll put you on the Supreme Court yourself. That was convenient. And Lewis Powell helped pass two critical decisions in 1976 and 1978. Buckley v. Vallejo that said money is speech, and hence you have a First Amendment right to spend money in politics. And then Bellotti versus the First National Bank of Boston, which said that corporations have the same speech rights, and hence the right to spend money in politics, that actual human beings do. They have the inalienable right to spend money in politics, which is outrageous. And ever since, the Supreme Court has gotten more and more corporate. Now, don't take my word for it. Let's look at what's happened recently. And I'll give you some charts to show you, in fact, what is happening in these years. First of all, in this year, in this term, so far the Supreme Court has released 8 opinions. In how many of them that involved the Chamber of Commerce did they back the Chamber of Commerce's position? 7 out of 8. So, if the Chamber of Commerce wants it done, the Supreme Court will almost always oblige them these days. Now, it wasn't always so. Even Supreme Courts that we considered conservative back in the day were not nearly as pro-corporate as this Supreme Court. So let me show you. The Burger Court only sided with the Chamber of Commerce 43% of the time. And back then that was considered a very conservative court, or getting more and more conservative. Rehnquist, definitely a conservative court, sided with the Chamber of Commerce a majority of the time, 56% of the time. But since Roberts and Alito have joined the Supreme Court, it is now overwhelming. 72% of the time, the Chamber of Commerce and corporate America and multinational corporations are right. The sense of balance is gone. Hey, you know, corporate interest could be right from time to time, of course. Public interest could also be right from time to time. But that's not how they see the world. They see it as the rebuttable presumption is that the Chamber of Commerce and multinational corporations are right, and you're really going to have to go out of your way to prove otherwise. Now, let's break down the individual justices, and it gives you a sense that the story is actually a little bit more depressing than even the overall number shows you. Because when you look at it, of course, the conservative justices, as you'll see here, are very much in favor of the Chamber of Commerce. Alito is at a whopping 76% there, Scalia 74, Kennedy 74, Roberts 73, Thomas 72. Nobody's surprised by that. But look at Kagan, who's supposed to be a liberal justice put in there by President Obama. A majority of the time, she also sides with corporations, 53% of the time. Sotomayor, also put in by Obama, 50%. Breyer, 48%, and Ginsburg, 44%. Not a single justice, even the most quote-unquote liberal justices, vote with the Chamber of Commerce less than 44% of the time. That's an amazing number. There's supposed to be a balance like, hey, well, the right wing believes that corporations are always right, but the left wing looks out for the public interest. So often they will side with public interest groups, etc. No, not really. And what did I tell you about Obama's Supreme Court justices? Yes, on many issues that are social, they're very good. And yes, they're women, and he got to check off that box. And yes, Sotomayor is Latino, and that's great. It's progress in and of in its own right, right? But as far as what do they brag about? And when Obama announced them, he bragged that don't worry, they're pro-business. And Kagan, yes, she worked in government, but she also worked in corporate America, and so did Sotomayor. She represented those people, so she has great empathy for her former clients in a lot of ways. It's at least a way of thinking about it. The people in front of her might not be a former client on that given day, but she worked in that world. That's why 50% of the time or more, they vote with corporate America. And when you have the right wing putting the gas pedal all the way down, and you have the left wing not doing the opposite, but oftentimes helping them, what do you have? a supremely corporate Supreme Court, which means that if you want to do real change in America, and it's actually fundamental change, even if Congress passes it, what's the Supreme Court going to do? Well, just like they did in Citizens United, they're going to say, no, sorry, you can't put any limits on money in politics. My corporate friends will get to spend unlimited money in politics, and they'll get to buy all of you as they've basically bought us. And by the way, how was the court bought? Well, once you buy a politician at the national level, he's the one who gets to appoint the Supreme Court justices. And certainly the Republicans love the very right-wing justices and pro-corporate justices they put in. But even the Democrats often brag about, don't worry, they're pro-business. Now, luckily, there is one thing in the American system above the Supreme Court, and that is the United States Constitution. If you put an amendment in the Constitution saying, wait a minute, corporations don't have inalienable rights granted by their creator, we're their creator. No, they don't have the rights of human beings. They're not human beings. They're not flesh and blood. They don't get to have those special rights, plus get the protection of limited liability so that they have even more rights than human beings. That's outrageous. No, they don't get to spend unlimited money in politics. And yes, what we should do is make sure that we publicly finance elections so that our politicians are not bought willy-nilly by corporations or incredibly rich people like the Koch brothers or Bloomberg or Soros. Doesn't matter if you're on the left or right. The only thing above the Supreme Court is that amendment to the Constitution. wolf-pac.com. Listen, that's exactly what Wolf-Pac wants to do. If you join us and we fight together, we can do it. Every generation of Americans has amended the United States Constitution except one, us. It's our turn. And by the way, it's also, given how stacked the Supreme Court in favor of corporation, it's our only alternative. If we don't do it, who's gonna do it? It's gotta be us. wolf-pac.com. And soon I'm gonna tell you stories about the successes we've had on the local level, and they are amazing. Look, don't just join Wolf-Pac because it's the right thing to do. Generally speaking, great. You want to be moral, you want to help us, you want to get democracy back, that's awesome. But it's good for you. The stories of how guys went and called local state senators and got them to change their positions. It's amazing. Do you know how good that feels? When you're just a regular citizen and you could actually make a change, it's the best feeling in the world. It's like one of our state leaders said, it's like I got the power back. Feel the power.